Crystal Beast locks down a regional top 8, and you know what? I gotta clap for it because I think this is the first of its kind. Let's check out these awesome deck lists from this regional. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. The TCG Collector's Cup out of New Zealand is here, or New Zealand. The top 8 breakdown is actually pretty straightforward here. We had 2 Tier Elements decks in the highest represented seats in the tournament. I mean, let's be honest here. You always will see Tier, tearing through the competition. That's just kind of how it works at this point in time. There's a reason why, the deck was projected to be the best deck. Dimension Shifter and friends can only do so much to kind of counteract the things that this deck ends up doing. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see that first and second place were locked down by Tier. Now, we had a Sword Soul in top 4 for this event, which is actually kind of nice to see. Sword Soul's been very much holding on by the skin of its teeth, and I really do mean that. Like, that deck is barely holding on to the format. So to see that it's still doing well is fantastic. We had a Branded Eldritch deck make its way into top 8 as well. It's always kind of a nice, warm, welcome addition to see that Branded Eldritch is still holding on. I mean, ever since, Eldritch kind of became a little bit slower, having the ability to use Mirror Jade as that boss monster to kind of make things go round for your deck, definitely a nice touch. Then we had the Crystal Beast deck that made its way into Top Cut. Not exactly sure how it is. I haven't really looked at the list yet. When we get into list here shortly, we'll get a chance to see what interesting antics they were doing. We also had a Branded Despia deck. So Branded Eldritch and Pure Despia to some capacity did end up topping this event. So 2 very big finishes there. We also had Flunderies in Top Cut as well as a one-of representative. And then we also had Exosister bringing in on the last slot. Exosister barely squeaking in though. Actually, kind of surprising, but to see that Crystal Beast was the rogue representative for this tournament, definitely kind of interesting. All right, let's pass it over to top 8. Winning the event here was Andrew D playing Tier. Yay. We are playing the Branded and High Spirits package. This has kind of become a little bit more of the norm at this point, where you use the big old frog to facilitate Albion searches. It's kind of cute. I do see that this deck is playing a very, very, very small sprite package in here of 3 monsters, just because you're able to step into Gigantic fairly easily in this deck. Also, to top things off, I mean, being able to search for Smashers as an interruption, really, really solid. I also see that we're citing Skill Drain here. So I talking about before in other videos. Eldritch would be better, but when the best deck in the room also has access to Skill Drain, you kind of got to wonder, is it just a losing battle after all? But very, very, very teched out. I like that. When you can see more teched out versions of decks, succeed out here, that's what kind of proves that the format is doing pretty all right, all things considered. Next up here, now this is a little bit more standard than we've seen the Danger package show up a couple of times within these decks. I do like the fact that we are playing Steam the Cloak. Steam the Cloak was talked about by quite a few people, but I haven't seen a lot of application for people, I guess, wanting to actually include it in their deck. Maybe it's too much of a brick for them, which, I mean, quite possibly, I understand where that factor comes in. We also do have the Skullmark Ladybug in the side deck. You do see a lot of these builds that just will choose not even to play the Skullmark Ladybug. I do think it is a pretty good inclusion. You never know when you're going to find yourself in one of those time situations. You're like, oh, well, I was able to side this in just in case to get those key life points back. Also citing 1 Eradicator instead of 3, and we also have Debarrier and Anti-Spell. So instead of, EEV, we got a nice little toolbox array of things for the curious dump play. And we are playing the Topological Bomber Dragon as well. Alright, top 4 here. Yay, Sword Soul! So, what are we doing that's unique here? Well, 49 cards is a very, very big start here. Let me tell you that. So we're playing the 1 Sword Soul Summit for the Monster Reborn. We're actually main decking Super Polymerization and Dark Ruler No More. So whatever situation you might find yourself in, it looks like that this deck was particularly geared up to kind of fight some of those more toxic matchups at the end of the day. But I will say overall, I understand what we're trying to do here with this. Adding in the extra cards to kind of try to round out the worst matchups. Like, this deck's inherent matchups just keep getting worse and worse as the formats keep going. So we have to play more and more of those generic cards in order to even stand a chance in today's metagame. And I think that this deck did actually try to round out its weaknesses relatively well. So I'll give that to them. All right. I think everything went relatively well here. Next up is the branded Eldritch list. So we are playing the Necrowar Banshee. You know, I know a few people were... I mean, actually, I haven't really seen any Necrowar Banshee, let alone in the main deck, in a little while. Most of it was sided, but then, you know, the format has genuinely just progressed so much to the point that you just have cut it entirely. So that's kind of nice to see back. I see we're main decking Droplets and Super Polys for the full board breakers. Summon Limits, of course, are going to be one of your best option trees for this. Because we're not playing extra, we can, you know, kind of lay out our extra deck a little bit nicer here and play a little bit more utility. And then our side deck is just so much dislike. Holy crap, man. Lava Golems, Dimension Shifters, Evenlies, Anti-Spells, and Judgments. Whoo, gosh. This side deck is going to tear through the competition. Absolutely beautiful. Alright, next up is our Crystal Beast list. So what are we doing here? Well, I see that we are main decking one singular copy Mystic Mine and one Necro Valley. So we have field spell access to kind of interrupt the opponent. I also see that we are not doing any of the real crazy Rainbow Dragon fusions. I think we're just kind of playing this more or less as a toolboxing deck that gets access to some of the better option trees for it. You know, I don't know if you know, but this deck has some pretty cool explosive plays. I also see that we can make Borbo attack directly, line up some free Zeuses on top of the opponent, and then have the opponent go, oh. So yeah, I feel like this victory was definitely due to some of the more generic good stuff cards that you get access to, because if you clearly look here, you're on very few Crystal Beast cards. So it's a lot of good stuff carrying around the Crystal Beast engine. So a win is a win, and it is very nice to see Crystal Beast get some love here. Next up here is our Despia branded deck. I see that we are doing branded expulsion plays in here for the Scythe. You know, branded fusion sends from the deck to the graveyard. With the help of branded expulsion, we can Scythe lock our opponent. It's been something we've seen a little bit more as of late. I think it kind of showed up, kind of turned heads for one or two events, and then kind of went back to being dormant. So to see that it's shown back up here for another event, I'll clap for it. That's actually really nice. I do think that that is probably going to be the best way to play the deck for a little while, just because, like, the little interactions and things that gives you, like, Scythe locking your opponent definitely gives this deck the one extra turn it needs to make sure that it can play the game. And if you can't get that one extra turn, I mean, you do have the board wipe off Mirrorjade to try, but it doesn't end up working out as much as it should. Let's see here. Flonderies. Alright, so we're main decking Triple D Shifter, as we should be. Double End Pen is fine. One Stormwinds, Triple Advent. No Mystic Mine in the main deck or the side deck. Wow! This is one of the first Flunder lists I've seen in a very long time that opt to not do that. I see a lot of interesting targets here in the extra deck. I saw the Quadratus. I saw the Sue ships. I guess we just opted to not play Reaper, which I guess is understandable. So we also have the Change of Heart down there in the side deck. I suppose that opens up some relatively cute interactions for the opponent as well. You know, just punish them for whatever bad interaction that they might have. Honestly, outside of all of this, this deck looks pretty standard, except for the extra deck. There's a lot going on there. I guess once again it kind of goes to prove that Flunder can kind of do whatever they want here. And then we have Exo Sister, which ended up making the last seat in this top cut. We're main decking them evenly matches so that we can blow our opponent out of the water. That's quite nice. D Shifters and Talents as well for the immediate responses. And of course I see Gammas. Oh man, the good stuff. You gotta love what hand traps can do for a deck to definitely give it some solid footing within the format. And then, of course, anti-spell Solemn Judgments. Side deck is pretty standard as well. I do like the inclusion of the new Link monster for Spellcasters now. It's starting to gain a little bit of popularity next to Sister too. So what do you guys think about these lists? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later on the day, guys. Stay safe out there, alright? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.